my name is Doc. Welcome back to the THC Launchpad, where we are going through every aspect of marketing your cannabis brand. So today we're going to be talking about facility marketing. And what I mean by that, because this is you don't usually think of your facility, whether it's your shop or your grow or whatever it is, as part of your marketing. But the reality is, especially when we're talking about your brand, where you do your business is intricately linked to how your brand is perceived. And so to get started, just let's point out the most obvious. When you are building out your business, when you're creating the facilities where you will be operating, you need to put a lot of thought into not just how functional that space is, but how it will appear to outside investors, customers, partners, etc. And so I'm just going to go through the different types of businesses that you may have and how your facility will play a role in your brand. And we're going to start with the most obvious. It's the dispensary, or in general any retail space. But in this industry, we're normally talking about dispensaries, and the space of your shop and everything that goes into it on the outside and the inside. It should be very obvious that it says a lot, if not everything, about your brand. And so I'm sure you're already aware of this. And so if you are opening a retail space, okay, I need to invest in it. But if you haven't thought about it yet and thought about not just the functionality of it, but how it is conveying something about your store, you should definitely stop and think about it, because I know how expensive it is to not just find the location, and a lot of thought, I'm sure, is going into where is my dispensary going to be. It's going to depend on where you can get the licensing. It's going to depend on whether they allow cannabis retail in that neighborhood, in that street, in that building, etc. And how expensive that rent is, and can you afford it. So all those things are going into it, but you really have to make sure that you are going to build out a space that's going to be not only appealing, but is going to match the vibe of your brand, because the space itself is going to, as I said earlier, convey so much about who you are as a company. And so the vibe people are going to have when in the space, it's really going to have play a huge role in how much business you get to start with and how much repeat business you get. And if you are thinking about cutting corners on that retail space, just be aware, especially if you're in a newer state that's just coming online. You may be like, oh, I'm the only dispensary here. I don't have to worry about it. Everyone's going to have to come here. You're not always going to be the only dispensary. And there's going to be, at some point, whether it's, right away or eventually, there's going to be competition. And that competition is probably going to be in the form of a large chain store that has built up a reputation, is a recognized brand in your state, and has a simplicity and appeal to the design of its stores and its branding that is going to be very hard for you to compete against. What about other types of businesses in the industry? What about a grow? Does a grower need to worry about how their space is being perceived by the customer, being perceived by others in the industry? Well, it depends, but I can tell you, I've been to a lot of grows. And if you have a facility that is, I'm just going to use the word space age, that's futuristic, that is shiny and white and clean, then that is going to have such a greater impact on your ability to, get partners, get investors, get buyers, to create a website that's featuring your facility that's going to be attractive to customers. And so creating a space that, again, is representative of your brand is going to be very helpful. And let me give you a couple of quick examples here in Oregon. I've been to a few outdoor farms that are regenerative, that are in Southern Oregon in this beautiful, you know, mountain landscape. And when you're out there, you're just, oh, it's just the most beautiful place, in the state, if not the country. And it's so beautiful. And knowing that your cannabis is growing on a farm like that, that's going to inspire you. That's going to inspire loyalty. It's going to infuse your brand. Now, if you're an industrial hemp grower, or if you are trying to grow at scale, or you're more on the agriculture side than as a craft cannabis grower, then you're going to have a very different type of land, but it's also going to mean that you're going to have a very different type of brand. And so as you're developing your brand, you may be like, oh, we want to lean into the organic and the all natural and the outdoors. But if your property where you're growing doesn't match that vibe, then it could be a mistake to lean into that as part of your brand, because it's never going to seem as authentic as it is for some of these other examples. And so that can inform how you develop your brand from the very beginning, where you're growing. Now, on the indoor side, it's a different story, because you have a lot more control over, not just where you're growing. And when you're growing indoors, where you're growing isn't as important as what you've done with the space that you're growing in. And I'll give you one more example. Deschutes Brewery, we went there to film for, it won the regenerative farming award. I forget or the energy efficiency award for the Cultivation Classic. And so we went down there, and it's just this tiny building that is, you're looking at it from the outside. You're like, well, that must be where the offices are. That's not where the grow is. But they have it all in there because they've used the space so efficiently. You can go to our website and see some of the videos we did. It's beautiful, it's clean, it's white, but in a footprint that is like, it's unbelievable how much weed they're growing in this tiny little space. And so that allows them to create a brand that is built around efficiency, cleanliness. They have this facility that screams, efficiency and futuristic, and all of the adjectives I was using earlier. And so again, they've created a space that lends itself to the way they brand themselves. And I've seen other examples of that. And I've also seen examples on the other end where you go in, and the weed may look nice, but the walls are drywall. Outside of the grow, it's dirty and grimy, and it feels like you're in an old warehouse, which is where they are. But they didn't invest in building up a space that would be appealing. And one last category of, type of business that you may have as you're watching this video, you may be an auxiliary business, something in the service industry that is supplying services to cannabis businesses. And I think the two most common examples that we've dealt with are law firms, cannabis law firms, and cannabis accounting firms. And when you are, that kind of professional services business, once again, your space can be very important. Because if you, want to present yourself as kind of a fancy, high class law firm or accounting firm, and you're in a downtown tower, skyscraper, big office, beautiful view of the city that you're in, or maybe you have more of a boutique firm feel, and you're in a kind of quirky, smaller space, but it's nice, and it's got the vibe again that you're going for with your business. It's very important, your space. And I've seen some beautiful ones, But whatever space you have and whatever space you can afford, make sure that it's going to look as nice as possible. And so that hopefully all these examples help you to look at your situation, figure out, okay, what kind of space makes sense for where I'm at in the industry? How can I make sure that I can afford that space, but ensure that it's going to be as top notch as it can be within my budget? And how can I be realistic about what my facility is and what that says about my brand, and lean into that aspect of who we are to further our brand. And so that's something that it's not the typical brand or marketing advice, the simple tasks, the things that you would think of when you think about branding and marketing, but it's probably more important than most of the other things that we're going to talk about in this video. And so I hope that you will take what we've talked about today and think about it, figure out what works for your business, and go from there. So that's it for this video. Once again, thank you for tuning in, for clicking on this video, whether it's on our website or on YouTube. I hope it's been helpful. Please like and subscribe, comment. If you have any questions, you can go to our website, and it's pretty easy to get a hold of me. I will definitely get back and answer any questions that you have. We also have free brand consultations that you can sign up for. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope I'll see you next time.